António, thank you very much for accepting the invitation of being part of the show today.
My pleasure. Happy to be here and look forward to see how our conversation is going to develop today.
For those that don't know you, let me bring here a brief introduction. So you present yourself on your profile as a sociologist and an innovation strategy at a company called Atos, but you're also a LinkedIn top voice, podcast host, and a book co-author about accessibility in workplace. So I guess that's going to be also the topic for conversation in your panel, because you'll be a speaker at the HR Week Lisbon 2026 that will happen this April on the 28th and 29th.
That's very true. You can also add to that I'm a Portuguese who spent these last years of my career working from the south of Ireland in Cork.
You're in Cork right now?
Yes, I'm in Cork right now.
How's the weather in Cork? Because, in Portugal is...
Yesterday, at the end of the day, I was preparing myself. Okay, I'm going out. I opened the door and then the world collapsed. Rain. So it's better to stay at home. There's no point in going to the shower.
Okay, I think we're very close, Cork and Portugal, for these depressions. Several ones to hit the same geographical area at the same time. Although it doesn't look like it's very sunny today, but this night I think it's going to be the climax of the Leonardo storm. Let's see if we can survive. I need to ask you this connection that you have. So you have this sociology background, but now you work in innovation. So how do you explain this connection? What's the path from sociology to innovation?
From the colleagues who have studied with me, I'm one of the few that works in the private sector. All my colleagues who study with me sociology, they all work, most of them, they work in the public sector in different areas. I end up working in technology almost by accident. And then through time, I start to realize that there are some advantages of having some background in sociology, particularly in what relates to the way how people behave and the way how people relate to technology. And that somehow helped me to drive at work in many different areas, because as someone that study research, this research in the way how people collaborate with each other, the way how people work with machines, have proven to be quite useful.
And this is mainly a podcast, an HR podcast for HR professionals, people managers, and you'll be a speaker at this event called HR Week Lisbon, right? What do you think is the biggest mistake that HR leaders are making right now?
Sometimes HR lives in their own bubble. No, HR people talk with HR people on a daily basis. And they are sometimes, not everyone, of course, disconnected from day-to-day business. A company that works in manufacturing or a company that works in AI. Sometimes there's a disconnect between the business reality, between the business operations, that sometimes is not very helpful for them and is not very helpful for people working in operations.
And you see that happening from your perspective, from an innovation perspective, from an accessibility perspective, it's visible, that disconnection?
I can give you an example. Sometimes, usually when we need to choose a platform for e-learning, or when we need to choose courses or training, usually HR makes the decision. But those who really have the knowledge about what they need to learn are the people in the field. And sometimes there's this mismatch between HR. Oh, we have this new shiny platform where everyone is going to learn about artificial intelligence. But the engineers and the people working, on the day-to-day operations with customers might have a different idea about what they need. So sometimes it creates a kind of a mismatch between what HR is bringing to the table and what the business needs.
What is the number one HR challenge companies are facing and underestimating right now?
I think they are underestimating the value of their workforce, of their employees, in terms of feedback and knowledge. All organizations now are trying to implement AI, but very few have been able to take advantage of the knowledge that their organizations are already generating to their employees. I can give you an example in manufacturing. The average age of employees working in manufacturing has decreased quite a lot over the last 2 years. In the past, there was people working in manufacturing with 20 years of experience. Today, there's people working in manufacturing with 3 years of of experience. So the knowledge of the older employees was never being captured or struggled to be captured. And they are about to retire. And the new employees coming to the workforce are going to struggle to be able to get the information from their older employees in order to face the challenge of day-to-day life. So capturing this knowledge, making it available, I think it's an issue that very few organizations have been capable of dealing with. We know that organizations have data silos, knowledge silos. There's been very few investments in what we call community management. People with which the function is to manage internal communities in the organizations, trying to connect people, try to create internal dynamics and capture knowledge to make it available for everyone.
There's also knowledge bases, right? Tools for a knowledge base. So what's stopping an organization to build something like that? Is there a reason?
I think sometimes it could be cost-saving measures. People, organizations want to save money and they decide, okay, what's the point of having 10 community managers around the organization, connecting people, even creating internal podcasts, creating a kind of an internal dynamic where information can pass from one side to the other, and where these community managers have the ability to connect people with each other, or say, people who they feel that they know each other. Sometimes we have, employees working in Germany, employees working in the United States, in Portugal or in Spain, and community managers people who don't know each other. And community management can connect these individuals because they might have shared goals. They might work with similar customers, let's say in aviation or in manufacturing. And if they're aware of each other, I think that they are able to bring more to the table and be in conditions to create more innovative proposals through the customers, because they are able to exchange ideas. They are able to connect in ways that they couldn't do it before without the help of someone like a community manager.
Sounds like a problem that only big companies face, not smaller ones.
Well, medium companies might face a similar problem. Of course, they might not need a full-time community manager, but they might need people who have this capacity. We're talking about a connector, someone in the organization who is able to connect people to each other within the sphere of the company.
What's one idea that can change how HR teams work day to day?
No, it's a very difficult question. It's about presence. Quite often in organizations, when you see or when you talk with an HR person, it's because a problem came up. There's an issue somewhere. I think it's important that people working in human resources, they need to be known within organizations. They need to share perspectives. They need to educate. They need to be present on the day-to-day activities of the organization. Almost every organization has a social network today, as an internal social network. It's important that HR is able to contribute with thought leadership articles, best practices, how to manage meetings. They need to become educators for people to understand that they are there to help. They are not just there when somebody made a mistake or when someone needs to be laid off.
And from a systems perspective, where can we start to make sure that workplaces are inclusive?
Well, that's another interesting question. There was a report a few years ago from Boston Consulting was trying to identify people with disabilities at the workplace, because there was this idea that around 5% of people in companies have a disability. And what they found is that the number is much higher. It's about 25 and sometimes can be 30%.
Because they're talking about like hidden disabilities?
No, people hide their own disabilities from their own employers because they are afraid of being judged, or they don't want to disclose because they don't really know what is going to happen if they disclose the disability. Some organizations have created HR practices, and they have programs where people are able to come forward and request for help if they have a disability. But in some places, people hide their disability because they are afraid of any consequences.
Yeah.
They might be afraid of not being promoted. And so there's still many things that don't make people comfortable with disclosing a disability. Yeah.
Just for the sake of clarity here, what kind of disabilities could someone hide? Because it's not physical, right? You would see that.
Someone could be, dyslexic. People can have some kind of a visual impairment. People can have ADHD. People can be in the autistic spectrum and be able to work. Usually, people can have an hearing impairment, and they're able to find solutions that allow them to work.
And then from a systems perspective, how can we make sure that our workplace is inclusive?
The first step is to understand that you have disabled employees and that you need to listen to them. The first step is actually try to understand what people need and then try to fulfill their needs we need to choose software and solutions that are inclusive for people with disabilities. We know that today, for example, we have software solutions that have subtitles and captions when we are in the interaction that we are here today. So in a video call at work, you can have subtitles so people can read. In some cases, even allow to translate it. Or when you are writing a post in your internal social network, you are able to add alt text to the images so people can read the images. The other is the way how you write on your internet, how you make sure that people who are using assistive technology are able to navigate to the systems that the organization gives you to be able to work in your day-to-day activities like screen readers. So it's important that people who use screen readers are able to use SharePoint, are able to use internal networks, are able to perform like any other employee who does not need that type of assistive technology.
Because you mentioned that there's some hidden disabilities, I guess it's a challenge, right? When organizations try to hire people with disabilities.
It's a challenge because sometimes, quite often, organizations in some countries, like Portugal, there are quotas that need to be fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you can be fined or face some legal consequences. Sometimes organizations they go and they want to hire people with disabilities without acknowledging that they already have them in their own organizations. Just because the environment is not friendly for people to disclose their disability. So it's really important that organizations they are able to create environments where people are comfortable in raising their hand. Oh, I'm dyslexic. I need assistive technology in order to be able to help me write better. Or I need assistive technology to correct my writing. Or I need assistive technology because I prefer to listen than to read a PowerPoint.
Oh, I think HR Week Europe is a great event.
HR Week Europe is really amazing.
You should definitely be here if you can.
Because I truly love this event.
Probably one of the best events I've been to like this.
I want to come back. When can I come back? Can I come back next year, please?
If you have doubts, don't doubt any longer. Come over the next time.
Why should HR professionals attend this conference?
Network with people from different parts of the world and be challenged in your assumptions about human resources.
Who will benefit the most from attending the HR Week Lisbon?
People who want to connect with their peers, discover new solutions, see how their peers are addressing the problems that they also have. And through this type of exploration, they might come to conclusions that can help them on their careers.
What will HR leaders miss if they don't attend the HR Week Lisbon?
They will miss the diversity, and they will miss the networking, and they will miss a very interesting learning experience. I think it is going to be a very interesting and unique event that is going to challenge the HR community in Portugal.
What is one practical insight people will take away from your session at the HR Week Lisbon?
It's possible to create accessible workplaces for people with disabilities.
What is one thing that HR professionals can apply immediately after this conference?
I think they are going to learn how to start and what steps they need to start in order to make workplaces accessible. or at least to create spaces that are friendly for people with disabilities to thrive at work.
We are getting close to the end, and for every guest in the show, I always like in the end to ask if they could recommend someone that could be an interesting next guest. Who would you like to recommend?
Megan M. Barrow. She is the founder of talentculture.com. I think she could be a very interesting guest for the podcast.
Challenge accepted. Thank you, António, and I hope to see you in person in the HR Week Lisbon in April.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to it.
Goodbye.